Hello everyone and welcome to my CSOU channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Fellow inmates caused Todd Chrisley to break down in tears. Since a presidential pardon saw him get an early release from prison, Todd Chrisley has been sharing his story about his time behind bars. In one recent share, the Chrisley Knows Best star revealed an emotional moment concerning him and other inmates. Todd Chrisley recently shared an emotional moment during his daughter's podcast. Todd Chrisley and his family previously became known to audiences through the USA Network series Chrisley Knows Best. In 2022, however, Todd and his wife Julie were convicted of a variety of charges, including tax evasion and bank fraud. The two were initially sentenced to spend a combined 19 years behind bars. However, the two saw an early release this past May thanks to a presidential pardon from President Donald Trump. Since their release, Todd and Julie have been sharing their story with various outlets. The couple recently appeared on their daughter Savannah's Unlocked podcast. During a recent episode, Todd talked about what it was like during his time leaving prison. With Savannah noting he gave away a lot of his stuff, Todd reportedly left with only a small notebook on him. When staff asked Todd about the notebook, he reportedly shared that it contained all the notes I'm going to use to tell on y'all when I get out, and it's under my legal name. Todd then shared the send-off when he left. He shared, all the men had lined up. Savannah commented that she had seen this when she drove up. The Chrisley Knows Best star revealed powerful words that were shared with him as he left. Todd shared, they all lined up in the lobby, and they started chanting when I walked out, and I started crying, and they said, don't leave us behind. It was at this point that Todd emphasized a promise he made, and I'm not going to leave those guys behind, because I know how they have been abused from the case managers, from the counselors, not doing what they're supposed to be doing. As previously reported, this was a promise that Todd has made previously in the time since his release. He even shared stories about the men he met, and his desire to help them, at a press release just a few days following his original release. On social media, fans have also been sharing their own reactions to Todd's words. Many had hope that, with his name, he could make a difference. A few even emphasized that Todd was making something positive out of his time in prison. Some comments included, the man once known for his designer suits, sharp wit, and impeccable control of his family's brand image, found himself in a moment that shattered all pretense. Todd Chrisley, reality TV star, former real estate mogul, and patriarch of Chrisley Knows Best, was recently spotted in an unexpected emotional breakdown that shook the walls of federal prison camp Pensacola. According to inside sources close to the situation, it wasn't the stark conditions or loss of freedom that cracked Todd's carefully maintained facade. It was the surprising kindness and raw honesty of his fellow inmates. A day like no other. It was a humid July afternoon in Florida, and the prison yard buzzed with casual chatter and routine exercise. Todd had just returned from his morning duties in the facility's chapel, where he's quietly taken on the role of spiritual mentor to several inmates. He often offers prayers, Bible study guidance, and personal reflections in hopes of clinging to his faith and helping others. But that day, things felt different. While seated at a worn-down picnic table under the cracked shadow of a basketball hoop, Todd found himself surrounded by a few inmates who had, over time, come to see him not as a celebrity, but as a man, flawed, broken, and desperately trying to hold onto hope. What began as small talk over prison food, instant grits, and lukewarm coffee, turned into a soul-bearing moment Todd hadn't anticipated. Words that cut deep and heal deeper. You walk around here like you still live in a mansion, one older inmate said, not cruelly but earnestly. Another chimed in, but you bleed just like the rest of us. You miss your family. You hate what brought you here. You're human, Todd. According to eyewitnesses, Todd initially tried to smile it off, brushing the comments aside with a joke. But the weight of the moment was too much. One inmate, who lost custody of his children while incarcerated, reached across the table and said, "I've seen you at night, staring at the photos of your family. Don't pretend, we've all been there." That broke him. Todd reportedly put his head in his hands and began to sob. Not quietly, not stoically, but with the full weight of months of emotional repression crashing down like a tidal fame. Wave. This was a side of Todd Chrisley the public had never seen. The man who once controlled the narrative of his life in front of cameras had no producers, no filters, and no editing room in that moment. All he had was pain and a small group of men who finally made him feel seen. Gone were the luxury cars and the immaculate homes. In that yard, Todd wasn't a reality star or a tabloid headline. He was just another dad aching for his family, just another man confronting the consequences of his choices. He's one of us now. After the tears subsided, silence lingered over the group. No one mocked him. No one laughed. In fact, a few offered their own stories, losing wives, missing milestones, disappointing loved ones. It became a circle of shared vulnerability, one not often seen in a place that values toughness and pride. "He's one of us now," said one of the inmates later. That moment, that was real, no more pretending. That was Todd finally facing himself. Sources say Todd later thanked the men privately, telling them he'd never felt so stripped down, so raw, yet so accepted. Julie and the family learn of the breakdown. Word of Todd's emotional collapse traveled quickly, and not just within the prison walls. According to insiders, someone close to the situation contacted Julie Chrisley, Todd's wife, who's currently serving her own sentence at a separate facility. Though she couldn't speak to Todd directly, a message was relayed through their legal contacts. She was emotional, the source shared. Hearing that he finally let his walls down, it broke her too, but in a way, it also brought her peace. Maybe they can heal from this, together, even if apart. Savannah Chrisley, their daughter and unofficial family spokesperson, also reportedly reacted strongly. While she's remained composed in public, insiders say she was in tears after hearing about the breakdown. She knows her dad hides behind jokes and charisma, the insider explained, but that moment, he let the real Todd come through. She's proud of him for that. A new chapter begins. Since the emotional outburst, fellow inmates have noticed a change in Todd. He's more grounded, more open. Some say he walks a little lighter. He's even been seen offering quiet encouragement to others who've hit emotional walls. One inmate described him as a lighthouse for those navigating the dark emotional waters of incarceration. He's found something in that moment, maybe redemption, maybe grace, the inmate added. Whatever it is, he's not the same man who walked in here a year ago. What this means for the Chrisley legacy. For years, the Chrisley family was known for their lavish lifestyle, witty banter, and seemingly unshakable unity. But the facade of perfection was shattered the moment the gavel fell and Todd and Julie were sentenced. Now, perhaps, the real legacy is beginning. Not one of wealth or celebrity, but of accountability, reflection, and growth. Todd Chrisley's breakdown may go down as the first step in a very different kind of journey, one not made for reality TV, but for real life. And while fans and critics continue to dissect the rise and fall of the Chrisleys, Todd himself may have just found something far more valuable than ratings: humanity, humility, and healing, found in the most unlikely of places, among the very men he never thought would be his brothers in sorrow and strength.